Good morning, beautiful people. We're going to talk about JD Vance and Dr. Oz and a war on fraud. Dr. Manhattan, what are you doing up? What are you doing up? So today I had to think about this live stream a little bit. I like catching y'all in the morning, you know that. Because I almost did JD Vance, Dr. Oz, and Epstein. But looking at your comments, that might be too much. Some of you aren't handling the Epstein files that well. I don't know. So let me think about that. But we're definitely gonna get into JD Vance, maybe, and I'll stop there. Dr. Manhattan said, "I woke up at the same time as this popped up." Yeah, I think listening to our vice president always puts us in a good mood, right? So I might hold off on Epstein till tomorrow. There's just a lot that's going on. I'm still thinking about the about Donald Trump speech yesterday. That was a lot. Keezer, what's good, you guys? Hi, Jose. I thought that speech was one of the best ever. JD. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. 23 B Rad, I did too. But how did you guys feel about the Democrats and their behavior? Mm-hmm. With Ilhan Omar, whatever. How did you guys feel about that? Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Maybe. Good morning, Uncle Claude. So, you guys, I'm trying to come live a little bit earlier. We got some things going on, and there's a lot of things. But you guys are gonna have to let me know about these Epstein files because from my emails and from my comments, some of you are saying that it's triggering. But I don't know what to tell you because the Epstein files aren't going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. So I'm gonna have to set apart some time for that, and you guys just gonna have to watch with discretion because you guys keep asking me about Epstein, but when I bring up Epstein, then you turn me up in my comments. So I don't know. I don't know. So you guys just have to let me know. She's a very passionate person. Um, Omar, Jose, I felt that was inappropriate though. I felt that was inappropriate for a representative. I felt it was disgusting. We could talk about it after Dr. Oz though, but I'm getting used to Dr. Oz being next to Donald Trump. You guys, let's get into the speech with our vice president. I can't say I'm surprised about the behavior. I just wonder how long the right will continue to be nice and allow it. 23B right. Some people criticize Donald Trump. Where am I from? Cali. Some people criticize Donald Trump for how he handled Omar, Representative Omar. I don't. She heckled him during that speech. Why did she feel so compelled to do that? I thought it was just a poor a lot of how the Democrats feel that this Democrats, you're welcome. How they feel it's okay to just create chaos and disrupt things just how they want to. If that's how they're acting, imagine how a regular person is acting. Okay, she could have waited. She could have did what the Virginia governor did and just have a press conference after, have a speech after. I just didn't like it. But let me get into this. Everything I share is for educational phrase purposes. Good morning, BZ. You're from Germany. Welcome. So you guys tell me, what did you think about Ilhan? It sets a bad example. Donald Trump talked about fraud in Minnesota, what's going on with the Somalians. He didn't call her out. If he's stating the facts and people don't like that, I don't know what to tell you, but it showed a lot about her character. We'll talk more about that later. President Trump did handle her. He did handle her well. BZ, I agree. The Epstein files were released a long time ago and really have no relevance anymore. It's just another baloney tactic to the left. You guys, thank you guys for supporting the live stream. Thank you guys for your memberships and supporting the commentary. I'm going to get into this, you guys, and I'll speak to you guys from the chat. Trump's speech was spot on. She outed herself. It's pure offensive defense on her involvement in Minnesota. Exactly. Hey, mini me. I like your name. Okay, you guys, let's watch the video, and I'll be back to talk about it.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. So let me say a couple things about what we're announcing today, and then I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Oz, and then we are going to take a few questions. So as a lot of you know, there are way too many Americans who are being defrauded by very bad actors in our society, people who take the goodwill and the trust of the American taxpayer and they decide to use it against us. They decide to make themselves rich instead of allowing these programs that are set up to make it easier for people to take care of their families, to make it easier for autistic kids to get the after-school services they need, to make it easier for people to get the health care that they need. And we are going to start very aggressively in the administration cracking down on the people and the organizations that are defrauding Americans. So we're announcing today that we have decided to temporarily halt certain amounts of Medicaid funding that are going to the state of Minnesota in order to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligations seriously to be good stewards of the American people's tax money. Now, what is this going to mean? What this means is that, first of all, the providers on the ground in Minnesota have actually already been paid. The state has paid those providers the money. What we're doing is we are stopping the federal payments that will go to the state government until the state government takes its obligations seriously to stop the fraud that's being perpetrated against the American taxpayer. There are a few different ways that we're doing that. There are a few different affirmative actions that we're taking today. Dr. Oz is going to talk about those, but let me talk a little bit about the spirit of this and why we're doing it. So number one of the examples of fraud that we've seen in Minnesota that we verified that is just awful is that a program that existed to ensure that autistic children had access to some after-school services has made a number of people rich, not by providing services to needy children, but by allowing fraudsters to take money that ought by right go to American citizens and to the American families, and to set up sham businesses, set up sham clients, set up people who are not even autistic but claim to be autistic in order that they benefit from the money that's out there. Now, what does that mean? Number one, it means that a lot of people are getting rich off the generosity of American taxpayers, but more fundamentally and more importantly than that, it means that there are kids in Minnesota who deserve these services, who need these services, and they're not going to those kids, they're going to fraudsters in Minneapolis. That is unacceptable, and that's the sort of thing that we're cutting off with this action today. Let me make one final point about the spirit of this. You know, one of the things I love about our country is that we're a generous country, we're a generous people. We take care of our fellow citizens who can't afford medical care because they're down on their luck. We take care of people who can't afford to put food on the table even though they work hard and play by the rules. We recognize that we're all in this together, and part of the reason why we have Medicaid, or part of the reason why we have food stamps, part of the reason why we have these programs is we want to make sure that kids who grow up in families not all that different from the family that I grew up in, that they have access to the basic necessities: food, medical care, after-school services when their family needs them but they're unable to pay. What's happening in Minneapolis, in California, in a number of states all across our country is that the generosity and the good hearts of our fellow Americans are being taken advantage of. We're taking that social contract that says that our American citizens, we take care of one another, and we're allowing a few bad actors to get rich off that generosity of spirit instead of providing the services to the kids who need it. This is disgraceful. It has happened for too long. Far too many people have gotten rich by taking what is the best of the American spirit and getting rich off of it instead of providing services to kids who need it. That is stopping today. We're taking a whole of government approach in the Trump administration to take this fraud seriously. What Mehmet Oz and his team at CMS have done is really remarkable, and it's just the first step of our efforts. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Mehmet to say a few words about what he's doing, what his team has uncovered, and what they're accomplishing with this new action. Dr. Oz.
Mr. Vice President, I appreciate the leadership on this. There's no question that his commitment The Vice President's commitment to rooting out this fraud is going to make a massive difference in preserving and protecting our nation's public health programs. It's going to protect patients. I want to thank President Trump for pushing all of us to make sure we protect our most vulnerable Americans, the ones that JD mentioned, the ones he grew up with, the ones all of us know in our lives. It also protects taxpayers from attacks on our healthcare system. Secretary Kennedy has spearheaded these efforts, and thanks to his leadership, I'm proud to announce the largest fraud initiative, anti-fraud effort of its kind in CMS history. Now, why is this action necessary? Last night in the State of the Union address, the president spoke about the affordability issues that we have improved dramatically in this administration. But let's put some numbers on healthcare. The average family puts about $27,000 in the healthcare a year. They only pay $7,000 themselves, which is a lot, but there's an extra $20,000 invested for them. This is not a reasonable amount of money to spend. We have got to bend that curve downwards. It's unpredictable as well when you have to make these expenses, and the fraud that we're experiencing in America is making this already dangerous problem much worse. So we're going to fix these issues. The president last night spoke about the need for price transparency. That's going to help by making people more aware of what they're paying. It's also going to help us at CMS figure out what you should be paying and identifying fraud. To that note, the president announced last night that he's appointing our vice president to lead the war on healthcare fraud, a wise choice. Your passion for this will make a huge difference. This is not about the money by itself. This is about people's lives and our culture, our shared values that have allowed these beautiful programs, Medicare and Medicaid, to survive brilliantly for 60 years. We believe, listen carefully, we are spending $300 billion a year in healthcare in this country for fraudulent, abusive, or wasteful purposes. $300 billion. Let's put that in perspective. If we could reduce fraud by 5%, which is at $300 billion, we would take the trust fund that's going to take care of all of us as we get older, and we would allow it not to expire in 5 to 6 years. We would double its life expectancy. That's massively important if you're going to trust the social safety net to be there for you. You deserve that social safety net. It's there. It's created. We're not going to let fraudsters steal it from you. The stellar CMS team, I want to call them out. Kim Brandt, who's videoing me over there, Dan Brillman, Capri Snap, Steph Carlton have worked tirelessly to put this together. They've been rooting out criminals all year long. I know as well what it's like. I visited all these areas, personally witnessed what it's like to see something you know is wrong and wonder why no one tried to fix it. It's infuriating. The vice president described it very accurately exactly what you see on the ground. These self-serving scoundrels, that's what they are, who rob our federal and state health programs, have decided it is worth the risk. I'm going to make a proposition to you. If you commit crime on Medicare or Medicaid in America, and you steal, let's say, a couple $1 million, your jail sentence, first-time offender, maybe a year. For a lot of folks, that's a good deal. We have to take these crimes seriously and treat them as seriously as if they were bank robberies, because they're more dangerous than bank robberies. People get hurt during them. Let me share some of these horrible stories. The vice president started highlighting autism. Let's get into the details of what's really going on in Minnesota. These are real cases from our group at CMS. These are adjudicated numbers. There's a fraud scheme in Minnesota where criminals, soon to be criminals, pay moms $1,000 roughly in order to enroll their children as being autistic, falsely, dishonestly claiming their children are autistic. They then bill Medicaid, this has already happened, millions of dollars for services that were never rendered, never delivered by a qualified staff member. These schemes disproportionately involve immigrant communities. They're insulated, they're able to organize efforts, and sometimes they don't understand what's going on. And it ultimately diverts resources away from kids who truly have autism. Because if every kid in the neighborhood has autism, then nobody has autism in terms of how you can manage them. There was one behavioral, by the way, these kids, they carry that diagnosis of autism the rest of their lives. Their mom made a bad decision, the kid pays the price for the rest of their life. There's one behavioral health organization, Mr. Vice President, in Minnesota. They received $11.5 million in Medicaid payments, but the top biller submitted 450 days where they claimed they were working more than 24 hours a day. I mean, even in the White House, that's tough. It's hard to work more than 24 hours a day. How it didn't get picked up is shocking to us at CMS. There are other red flags in Minnesota, including hundreds of beneficiaries receiving treatment linked to one location, which was impossible physically to be true. We had 8 beneficiaries in one of these substance use disorder centers, 8 who were already dead, but the center was still billing us. Not only did they let the person pass, they kept billing for it. That's the level of average we're talking about. So CMS is done paying and chasing. We don't think jail sentences are the right way out. These criminals flee the country. Many are foreign nationals. Instead, we're launching the largest action against fraud that we've ever taken. The money's not going to ever leave the building again. We're going to start draining the swamp of the crooks that have inhabited it and are defrauding us. There are three bold actions. The first, and for many of you maybe the most important, is we're going to, for the first time, take a massive action to defer funds to a state. Let's start with this Medicaid program in Minnesota, which serves pregnant women. Medicaid takes care of our children. 53% of kids are born in the poverty. They're supported through Medicaid. Disadvantaged seniors, individual with disabilities. It's imponderable that you would take advantage of these precious programs. Yet they're putting it at risk, all of it, by stealing the money. So it's our duty to preserve Medicaid, and what we're going to do is identify the scammers, which we have done in Minnesota. We've identified that they've hijacked, in particular, a certain part of the Minnesota Medicaid system. Said differently, and I'll just put the numbers out there, it's going to be $259 million of deferred payments for Medicaid to Minnesota, which we're announcing as I speak to Governor Walz and his team. And that's based on an audit of the last 3 months of 2025. Restated, $250 million is not going to be paid this month to Minnesota for its Medicaid claims. Now that's $250 million of money. That's your money. It's your taxpayer money. And these home and community-based services, which again are services that are typically things you would do for your family, but for whatever reason your family is not there to provide them, are very hard to audit. And for that reason, there's been a lot of slippage. The guardrails have not been well maintained. And if you're not serious about the integrity of the program, you'll see these problems happening in your state, which is why Minnesota is not alone, although they're the first to receive this action. These high growth areas of fraud are difficult to police. So we require the states to take these issues seriously. This $250 million deferment is hopefully going to get on the radar screen for the state of Minnesota and make sure they are responsive to our requests. We did what any honest and patient-focused agency would do. We have notified the state and that we will give them the money, but we're going to hold it and only release it after they propose and act on a comprehensive corrective action plan to solve the problem. If Minnesota fails to clean up the systems, the state will rack up $1 billion of deferred payments this year. Governor Walz has 60 days, sir, to respond to our letter. And if providers and beneficiaries are worried about getting their money in services, please call your governor. These are services the governor has already paid for. We are just not reimbursing the state. And to make it clear, there is a rainy day fund in Minnesota. So we are very confident that people will not be hurt in Minnesota. This is not a problem with the people of Minnesota. It's a problem with the leadership of Minnesota and other states who do not take Medicaid preservation seriously. Any delay in services is going to be should be laid at the seat of Governor Walz. I believe he will take this seriously. They're not the only state that's floundering. We have more announcements with other states coming soon. Second big issue has to do with Medicare. So that was Medicaid in Minnesota. It takes care of our most vulnerable populations. Medicare takes care of our seniors. Durable medical equipment. Most of you have not thought much about this category. These are the folks who they serve wheelchairs, canes, they sell knee braces, catheters, Foley catheters. Durable medical equipment suppliers, because they ship prostheses and these items, they're a great target for fraudsters. Here's what they do. They can steal the beneficiary number and they never ship the product. They pretend to ship the product, but nothing ever gets sent out. So there's no cost of goods sold, there's no inventory, there's no payroll, no one works in the place, it's empty. But they generate millions of dollars of fake bills. There was a national DME fraud scheme that generated $1.1 billion recently in fraudulent orthotic brace orders. The beneficiaries whose numbers were stolen and used, they couldn't get those products. Imagine if you're at an insulin pump and someone steals your number and orders an insulin pump fictitiously, bills Medicare, and then you come and want to get this to deal with your diabetes. You don't get it. That actually happened. And what happens to those patients? They don't know if their blood sugar's so high or so low that they might die. That's the risks that we're allowing by not taking this seriously. So today, issue number 2 is we're announcing a 6-month national moratorium blocking all new enrollments for durable medical equipment, prostheses, orthotics, supplies across the board. These crimes are becoming a major source of fraudulent activity. And I'll just mention, Mr. Vice President, South Florida. Do you ever go to McDonald's?
Yeah, too much.
We had rehearsed this. So there are twice as many durable medical equipment suppliers in South Florida than McDonald's.
Wow.
And that's not because Secretary Kennedy is closing down McDonald's. That's because the amount of fraud is so massive that it's easier to open one of these suppliers than open a bank account, which is why we're working with Secretary Bessent. And part of the reason for this moratorium is it gives us time to be able to deal with these issues that have become massive. And if we just shut down South Florida, they'd all flee to California and to Texas. So we have to shut the whole country down. This unfortunate necessity is going to allow us to get on top of what we believe is billions of dollars of DME frauds. We've already stopped $1.5 billion of billing, but we need more time to shut down these bad guys. But it's going to be effective, and it's not going to touch the people who need these services. We've designed the system so that all the people who are already selling products can continue to sell products until we check them out, but no new DME enrollments, no ownership changes. All the things that fraudsters have done historically will be blocked. This way, we're preserving access, but we're not allowing tax dollars to be stolen. Now, you may be asking, why is it so important to crush fraud to assure the affordability of our nation? I'll just give you one example that we just finished dealing with. The Vice President's aware of this. We had skin substitutes that were generating, we believe this coming year, $23 billion in billing. Because we're able to shut that down to where it's supposed to be, because they have a role when used appropriately, every single senior in America, everyone, is going to get $132 extra money this year just from that one thing that we shut down. That's the amount of money we're talking about, and it affects all of us. And to that note, because every one of you are affected, we want all of you to help us. So the third big announcement is we want to crush fraud by crowdsourcing ideas. We're issuing a request for information. We need and we want your help. The Vice President, myself, the President, Secretary Kennedy, all of us know that all of us are smarter than any one of us. So what can you do? We want your input on how to prevent, detect, and respond to fraud in government-funded healthcare. Whatever ideas you have, we're interested in. Our goal is to supercharge program integrity over the next 6 months. So we put in a request. That means providers and suppliers and payers and technology companies, patient advocates, beneficiaries. If you see fraud, you let us know. A state Medicaid director can show us patterns of fraud that we're not aware of. A provider can help understand compliance burdens and how to deal with those more effectively. Patient advocate, get cracking on making sure that people are aware of fraud. And like we have done already this year by pulling in those kinds of ideas, we've stopped almost $6 billion from leaving the building, but that leaves a lot more out there that we can take advantage of. So over the next 60 days, the Crush Initiative we just issued is us asking you to help us build something better, to help the brave patriots out there who want to play a role to play a role. Call 1-800-HHS-TIPS if you see fraud, or just go to cms.gov/fraud. Those are simple, easy ways for you to help us address the problems the Vice President highlighted. God bless you all, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. Great job. Very, very, very important initiative, and we'll take a few questions. I didn't expect you to put me on the spot with Bobby Kennedy about my fast food habits, but here we are. Sir in the front.
Two things, Mr. Vice President. First, can you talk about the legal authority under which the federal government pauses legally obligated funds under mandatory funding from Congress, such as Medicaid? And secondly, if you can tell us anything you know about the situation off the coast of Cuba, there's a speedboat shot. You've been briefed on that. You know, Americans were killed or injured.
Yeah, so on the second thing, actually, Marco briefed me about 15 minutes ago on it, but we don't know a whole lot of details, and so I'll defer to the White House to provide more updates as we get them. Certainly, you know, a situation that we're monitoring. Hopefully, it's not as bad as we fear it could be, but can't say more because I just don't know more. On the question of the legal authorities, I mean, inherent in Congress's assigning of the administration actually, you know, we're the ones who spend this money. Congress appropriates it. We're the ones who actually make sure this goes to the people it ought to go to. And inherent in that is making sure that it only goes to the people that Congress says that it should go to. We shouldn't be sending money to fraudsters. We should not be sending money to companies that are committing mass fraud. We shouldn't be sending money to anybody that's trying to defraud the American taxpayer. So I know, you know, Oz and his team, he's got the best team, I think, in healthcare anywhere in the private or the public sector. It's one of the great things I love about working with Dr. Oz is he's brought great people along with him, and congratulations on this. But I feel quite confident we have the legal authority to do this. And again, I'd reiterate, we don't want to do this. Like, we don't want to be in a situation where the state of Minnesota is being so careless with federal tax dollars that we have to turn the screws on them a little bit so that they take this fraud seriously. You heard Dr. Oz say this. Tim Walz could call him, could call me, could call anybody in the administration, and we've given him 60 days to respond to this. All we need the governor and the administration in Minnesota to do is something quite simple, which is to show that before you give Medicaid funds to somebody, you're taking seriously whether they provided the services that they say that they're providing. And the fact that there are so many people handing out millions and billions of dollars of federal Medicaid money without even confirming that they're doing the thing that they say that they're doing, it's a disgrace. It's a defrauding of the American taxpayer, and we're stopping it. Caitlin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Two questions. One, on the 60 days that Governor Walz has to respond, what exactly is the condition that he needs to meet for this funding to be released back to his state? I just wasn't really clear on that. And secondly, on Iran, while you're here, can you explain to the American people why the United States would need to strike Iran to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon if the United States obliterated their enrichment program last summer?
Well, I'm not going to make any news on Iran today, Caitlin. I'll let the president make those announcements. As you know, he is sending two of his best negotiators to Geneva tomorrow in order to continue to try to strike the best deal possible for the American people. But the principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild their nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address that problem. As the president has said repeatedly, he wants to address that problem diplomatically, but of course the president has other options as well. On what we need to see from Governor Walz, I'll say something about that briefly and then turn it over to Dr. Oz. Look, it's actually pretty simple. What we want to see from the governor of Minnesota, from the entire administration there in Minnesota, is some affirmative steps to make sure that the people who are billing us for Medicaid services are actually providing those Medicaid services. The main source of fraud, whether it's a small business or a bigger company, is you have people who are billing the government millions, tens of millions, billions of dollars saying that they're providing a service, but there's no actual confirmation. There's no follow-up to ensure that they're actually providing those services. We want to see that follow-up from Minnesota. Dr. Oz maybe can speak to a little bit more about how exactly we want to see that.
Let me combine both these questions. So on December the 7th, we sent a letter to Governor Walz asking for a corrective action plan, which is a mechanism for us to extract from the state what they think they can do to fix the problems. The answer we got back at the end of the month, which is what the deadline was inadequate. We alerted them to this. We issued guidance that we were going to defer income based on an audit of last quarter's money. So we actually went dutifully through all of the bills that were sent to us. We found that of these high-risk services, roughly half of them, you really couldn't trust the data we were looking at. It's not that the numbers don't add up. The backup to the numbers is not there. So what do we need to have happen? We need to know that the providers actually are the real providers. Oftentimes, there's no person that you can associate with the treatment itself. We need you to, after you adjudicate who these providers are, make sure they're not already in trouble for doing bad stuff, and then evaluate all the current providers to make sure they're supposed to be able to provide these services. And there's a whole slew of tools that we can use, including checking before you pay the bill that the bill is legitimate. That prepayment review is incredibly important. It's cumbersome. It's clunky. We wish we didn't have to do it. But I'm going to highlight something that the Vice President mentioned. These are services that we normally would not pay for. They're services we give to you because your family can't do them for you. If it's a hernia operation, there's a dozen people who have credentials, licensing. We can use a scar. But if your service is transporting you to the doctor's office and you can't tell me who actually drove the car and why they billed so much and that the patient didn't go to the doctor's office, then we have to do our job, which you would want us to do, which is to ask for some backup. And there wasn't any backup. So to echo 60 days, that's the deadline. We expect to hear back. We've been to do this correctly, which is
huge universe of fraud that you're talking about, $300 billion. How did you arrive at that number? What number is realizable in terms of savings? And you've mentioned California, you've said that you're going to move on to other states. Can you just give us a kind of snapshot of where you see that, and are all of the states that you're going after and where you see these problems ruled by Democratic? I mean, California, Minnesota was Democratic-run states, so just a little bit of a preview.
Well, you said ruled by Democrats. We didn't use that word. You did. But here's what I'd say. $300 billion in the grand scheme of how much the federal government spends on healthcare services, it sounds like a ton of money. It's actually, the federal government spends well over $1 trillion in providing medical services to the American people. And based on what we've seen, based on the amount of services that we've seen that have been billed that are fraudulent, and also based on the fact that in a number of blue states, and this is true as far as I know only in blue states, where you have illegal aliens encouraged to get on the Medicaid program, we actually think $300 billion may be conservative. And we certainly, our ambition here is to get as much of that money back for the American taxpayer as possible. Again, we're taking the social safety net. We're taking something that exists for the benefit of people who can't pay for medicine on their own. We want to help our fellow Americans. We can't do that if those programs are being defrauded by people who either shouldn't be here in the first place or have the legal right to be here but are committing criminal acts by defrauding these systems.
Can I clarify one number?
Go ahead, please.
Just on the numbers, the $300 billion is from the Kaiser Family Foundation assessment of estimated 5% fraud in all healthcare, not just federally funded healthcare. So it's 5% of the total, roughly $6 trillion. We spend almost close to $2 trillion, $1.8 trillion of federal monies. So the federal portion will be about $100 billion, and we believe much of that would be achievable. It's not fraud; it's fraud, waste, and abuse altogether. Sorry.
Yep. No. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, you can go first, and then you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vice President. As you know, the Kurds have been loyal allies to the United States for decades. You're fighting dictatorship in Iraq. We're fighting terrorism in the region. And recently, President Masoud Barzani worked closely with the U.S. Special Envoy to Syria to help find a peaceful solution to the conflict there. How do you see the future of this strategic relationship between the Kurdistan and the United States of America?
Well, look, let me be brief here because we're here to focus on the fact that way too many people are defrauding the American population. But, you know, we have a great relationship with the Kurds. The president loves the Kurds. I know that the entire administration, we've had great contacts and great friendships with the people, the Kurdish people in various countries all over the world. And look, our attitude is we want those people to be able to live in peace and harmony and prosperity with their neighbors. We've pursued a foreign policy of peace in part because we want the Kurdish people, but also the Arab people who live there, the Jewish people who live there, the Christians. We want everybody to be able to live in peace. And that has been the main focus of our policy in Syria. It's been the main focus of our policy really all over the world. Ma'am? Yeah. No, let's, thank you.
How do you intend to make sure that the consequences of ending these fraud programs in Minnesota don't impact the people who are enrolled in Medicaid? And at a bigger picture, how do you think that the polls show that Democrats historically have the advantage on healthcare? Do you think that these efforts on fraud might change that for Republicans?
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the politics. I'm worried about the justice of it all. I think it's offensive that American taxpayers pay into these programs and they are defrauded. And I think in some ways, more significantly than that, it's really sad that American children who need these services aren't able to get them because it's going to fraudsters instead of somebody else. So here's what I think. I mean, look, we're certainly going to make sure that our anti-fraud efforts go after the fraudsters and not after anybody who actually benefits from these services. But I actually think the question is a little off in a way, because the problem is not going after the fraud. The problem is the fact that these programs are being defrauded to begin with. They will not exist. Our social safety net will disappear unless we take fraud more seriously. So what I'm most worried about is that unless we preserve these programs for the next generation, they're going to disappear and all the money is going to go to fraudsters. Go ahead.
You're mentioning a lot about justice and all. So what exactly would that look like? Dr. Ross has mentioned that jail sentences aren't necessarily ready to go. Is there a way possible to get back? Ways to get refunds? On that, and then
Yeah, I mean, look, there are certainly ways to claw some of the money back. It depends on the circumstances of the case. When you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars potentially in fraud, that's a big universe of cases. There are different ways of anticipating it. You know, you heard Dr. Oz say some of these people, they will commit a crime and then leave the country. Obviously, we're not going to prosecute people who aren't even in the United States anymore. But I really do think that criminal penalties for some of these fraud cases have to happen. We have to make sure that we stop the fraud being committed against the American people. And if you violate the law in the process of defrauding American citizens, you ought to face the full consequences of the law.
And then on that, you said a few weeks ago that there would be a new assistant attorney general position to advance this effort. Can you give me an update on the timeline for when we might see a name announced, when you want the Senate to start working on confirmation like that?
Yeah, so I believe we have the name announced. I would say that Colin is on the Hill maybe today or yesterday. Colin will be the new AAG to help us combat fraud. I believe he's had great meetings all over the Hill today as part of the Senate confirmation process. I think he's impressed a lot of people. He's certainly impressed me. And again, we have a whole of government approach. I mean, what Dr. Oz is doing at CMS is very, very hard work, but it's not the only thing. We're trying to buttress it with a whole of government approach. Scott Bassett at Treasury is going to work on this. We're going to have our great Department of Justice work on this. We want to take this seriously because it's a serious problem for the American people, and so we got to fix it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Will the way that you're handling fraud in Minnesota by withholding this Medicaid reimbursement serve as a playbook for how you'll handle it in other states, or are there other tools that you'll be using that would help you?
Well, I think it can, certainly. There are certain things that we're doing in Minneapolis and Minnesota that we're not going to be able to do in other parts of the country because the fraud is going to be different in each place. But yeah, I think this basic model of saying to people, hey, you get a massive amount of money to provide a service to people. Did you actually provide that service? The fact that it's even controversial that we're asking these questions as a government goes to show how much the culture of fraud has permeated Washington, D.C. Think about this. We're talking about people who take money from autistic children. They pretend their children or some other person's kid is autistic. They collect a fat check. They don't provide an ounce of services. And then the very money that's supposed to go to needy kids isn't there anymore to help those needy children. The fact that we have so normalized this, and the fact that I guarantee there are going to be voices in the media, there are going to be voices in the state of Minnesota who say, this is hurting children. No, it's hurting fraudsters. The way to protect kids is to go after those fraudsters, which is what we're doing. Sir.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you for taking questions. Dr. Oz mentioned the word guardrails when it comes to this. Can we expect the federal government look to implement new guardrails to prevent the normalization of fraud like this from continuing? Do you believe it would be more effective for states that you're investigating to put up guardrails? Do you think that the best way to do it would be a mixture? And what message should a move like this that you're announcing today send to other states that might be under the microscope?
I mean, look, we would love to better work with the states here. We need the states to combat this fraud. And frankly, if Minnesota had done a better job of combating the fraud, we would not be here at this press conference today. We'd send out a letter celebrating the fact that Minnesota had worked with us to cut down on some of the fraud. I'll let Dr. Oz speak a little bit more to that question. But look, the best way for this to work would be for the federal government to work with the state governments. We'd love for that to happen. I think you're going to see that in some states, even some blue states, but you're not going to see it in others.
The working family tax cut legislation, for the first time in a long time, aligned the president and vice president with the governor so they have the same goal. So we've been talking to the states a lot. We are generating some frameworks that we believe states could apply. Medicaid is run by the state. They know their most vulnerable populations well. It's different than Alaska on the North Shore slope where you can't get there this time of year to southern Alabama, lower Alabama, or LA as they call it. But the reality is there are similarities that govern some of these programs, especially the ones that are high risk. And so we're going to share those best practices. But the techniques that we're using in Minnesota can be applied in other states, but it's the fraud, however, that will drive that. And so there are some states, I mentioned Florida, that's a red state where there's a big fraud problem in the southern part. They're trying to get their arms around it. We've sent a letter to Minnesota, which has a Republican senator. We're very concerned about New York, where the single most prominent job in New York is a personal care service. Retail is not the top job in New York anymore. And so in fact, in California, there are more hospices, I believe, in Los Angeles County alone than the rest of the country. So these are aberrancies that are hard for the states sometimes to see, but your first inclination, if you're the vice president and you're running a task force, is to look at those areas and say, how can you ignore that kind of a discrepancy, especially when there's been a massive uptick in some of these services in a short period of time?
Great. We'll take just one more question here, sir.
What is your message to the people of Minnesota who are so upset by the ICE surge as well? This is just one more thing on top of that.
Well, first of all, I think our message to the people of Minnesota is that we love them. They're our fellow citizens. We're trying to do right by them. And part of the reason, in fact, the main reason that we're doing this is that we want to make sure that the people of Minnesota have access to the services that they're entitled to. We want poor kids in Minnesota, lower income families in Minnesota to be able to get the health care that they need. We got to stop the fraud in order to make sure that happens. We want to make sure that if you have a special needs kid and we have a program set up to help that special needs kid, that the money goes to the special needs family, not to a fraudster who's getting rich off the generosity of American taxpayers. Now, you talk about the ICE surge. Again, I think it goes back to the question I just answered, which is so much of what is broken in Minnesota, as far as I can tell, is a lack of cooperation between the state government and the federal government. If you look at any blue city or any blue state or red city or red state, the immigration enforcement that we were doing was going smoothly. We'd find out that there was an illegal alien sex offender at a prison. We'd show up, we'd arrest that person, and we'd send him out of our country. Or maybe that person was a repeat offender and they were out of prison. Go to this person's address and arrest this guy because we want that violent criminal out of our community. What was so bizarre about Minneapolis is that it was one of the few places in the entire country where they said, no, we're not going to help the federal government get illegal alien sex traffickers out of our community. We're going to do everything that we can to prevent federal immigration enforcement from happening, even when you're going after the very worst of the very worst. Similarly, I would think that if I was the governor or a leader in Minnesota, I would want the benefits that ought by right to go to needy children. I want them to go to those needy children and not to fraudsters, whether they're from the Somali community or anywhere else. But no, we haven't gotten the cooperation. So what I would say to the people of Minnesota is that we want to do right by you. We think you deserve better public services. We think you deserve to have the benefits that you're actually entitled to. And that's why we're doing this. And we encourage everybody in Minnesota, whatever their political affiliation, to work on the state government a little bit, because if we had some better cooperation, we could have common sense immigration enforcement. We could also have less money going to fraudsters, which I would think would be a bipartisan issue. Thank you all.
Can you tell us what your response is to the Oversight Committee launching an investigation into your net worth, you and your husband's net worth? They're claiming that it's risen rapidly. What's your response to what they're saying? Do you think they'll find anything in their investigation into your net worth?
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar avoiding questions about her net worth that has risen astronomically during her time in Congress. President Trump wants answers. Writing on Truth Social, quote, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is worth over $30 million. There is no way such wealth could have been accumulated legally while being paid the salary of a politician. She should be investigated for financial and political crimes, and that investigation should start now. Saturday Night America anchor Kayleigh McEnany joins me now. It is amazing. When she started in 2019, she had a negative net worth. Her personal household net worth has gone from negative to $30 million, and her husband's Rose Lake Capital firm, a consulting firm, has gone from just dollars up to $25 million in value.
Yes. So what's interesting, you have her husband, Wynette, who started Rose Lake Capital, to your point. So Rose Lake Capital, you noted $42 and then skyrocketed to millions within a year. And these are according to public filings that she put forward, according to documents in a lawsuit.
Her own numbers.
Yes. And it caught the attention of, listen to this, not Trump's FBI, Biden's FBI. So in 2024, Biden's FBI raised questions about this skyrocketing wealth, some of these business decisions, and even Wall Street experts say, why is a former political consultant, that's what Wynette was, running a massive financial firm that, by the way, we've never heard of, and we're on Wall Street and we think we would have heard of it? A lot of questions.
Not to mention, they also have a winery that has also experienced a similar, in California, by the way, that has experienced a similar explosion. Real quick, I want to play Tom Emmer, House Majority Whip, talking about this earlier this week.
This needs to be investigated. She was right at the center of the Somali fraudster operation called Feeding Our Future, the $250 million fraud case, largest pandemic fraud case in the country. Those are her people, and they're the ones that donated to her campaign. So Jamie Comer and the Oversight Committee are investigating this and looking into this, and this needs to be exposed.
Tom Emmer is majority whip because Republicans control the House. They also control the Senate, and they control the White House. Are they going to get to the bottom of this?
I certainly hope so. And by the way, I just note that that winery you mentioned, one of the wines was called the Devil's Lie. How about that? But look, they say House ethics or House
Sometimes
oversight.
they tell the truth.
Sometimes they do,
Yeah.
and maybe they don't. We'll see. But House ethics or House oversight is going to look into it. But look, it's time. To your point, we have the House now, and I'm hopeful and bullish that maybe Republicans will overperform in the midterms. But that's not a guarantee. So now is the moment for House oversight to look into it, for the FBI to look into it. Kash Patel's been doing a phenomenal job. I have no doubt that they are. But look, the time is ticking, especially for Congress.
Do you get the sense, I feel like Ilhan Omar has, a lot of, she's been out there saying crazy things about the fraud in Minnesota, talking about the ICE agents. All of it sort of makes me wonder if she's not, I don't know. I just get the sense that maybe the walls are closing in on her. Maybe she realizes that a lot of these questions are being raised.
This is her district that she oversees.
Yeah.
We have all seen the billions of dollars of fraud. We're just now scratching the surface of it all. And I'll tell you, I have my producer, he's amazing, Jake, has been watching Somali TV all week. So we have all these new clips from Keith Ellison and Jacob Fry. And these elected officials, there's a lot of questions, what they knew, when they knew about it, and why they didn't act.
And when you think about $9 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse, in a lot of it touching on programs that Ilhan Omar brought, included in legislation, and brought to her state. And then on top of that, it went to people who were politically connected to her.
That's right. And that's why David Hoke and Nick Shirley bringing light to this and asking the questions and pointing out, what did you know? When did you know about it? I'm hopeful that all of these officials come before Congress. It's great to hear from Nick Shirley and David Hoke, but I want to hear from Fry. I want to hear from Walls. I want to hear from Omar.
Absolutely. Okay, we've reached out to Congresswoman Omar's office for a statement, but we have not gotten a response.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Hey, you guys, are we still friends? Okay, is that why Ilhan got so upset yesterday? Remember what happened while Trump was speaking? There's a lot of questions surrounding Ilhan, Omar, and fraud, right? Hang on.
The Somali pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. The Somali.
You know how she got?
Shame. You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up.
I don't know. Maybe I said too much during that live stream because my computer just went out. Maybe I said too much, but you guys delete me. How you gonna delete me? Okay, so I don't know, you guys. Let me see what y'all say. Who let her get away with fraud? That's what happens. Now, don't get mad at me. I just put on the news, okay? Don't be mad at MU. Can I show y'all my clip again? I don't know what the hell happened right now, but I don't know. I don't have much. Okay, let me go back.
You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah. Donald Trump didn't mention her. Why'd she get so upset? But she did make quite a bit of money with her salary and the time that she's been in office. I'll show you guys another one.
I was told that Ilhan Omar is worth $30 million. She never had a job. She's a crooked congressman.
I'm just saying.
Now investigating how Ilhan Omar's family's net worth grew $30 million in 1 year, mainly through her husband's financial firm. Let's look at the finances here. In 2019, she entered Congress with a reported negative net worth. Then there was a reported change in household net worth from $42.44 up to $25 million from 2022.
It's been talked about. You said Politics is one big show. Dr. Manhattan said she got triggered. AOC got millions too. There's all kinds of questions that we have, you guys, and that's all I'm saying. Yesterday, Donald Trump was speaking. She got very triggered. She wanted to start a riot, in my opinion. She definitely wanted to start chaos while she's yelling these lies and these slurs at the president. I just thought it was bad look, you guys, and it's still going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. There's a lot of things that happened during that speech yesterday. I'm still like, man, how did you guys not feel anything from it? Her husband, a.k.a. her brother. So there's just a lot. But she did get triggered. Other than that, Dems use our tax monies against us. Talk about it. Talk about it. So that's what I was going to talk about. You guys, do y'all have any final thoughts for me? I never want to cause division. I just like to spread awareness about what's going on in our country today. Why so many people are against Republicans. Why? You ever asked yourself why? And why are people trying to hide these cover-ups? And there's a lot of fraud going on in Minnesota. I thought Ilhan should have been the last person to speak out as Donald Trump was calling out this fraud. But she got very offended, and I think she's very offended for reasons that we know about, but we can't really say. That's all. Dr. Manhattan, no, you're good. How's your mom, Doc? But as long as we're still good, then, all I care about. So anyway, I'm going to first cousin Mike. Mike, what you saying? What are you guys saying? So I'm gonna hold off my talk on Epstein for tonight. I kind of want to leave it with JD Vance. Now, JD Vance and Dr. Oz, I felt made an interesting pair speaking. JD Vance would be an amazing president for 2028. We have midterms, elections coming up. I'm praying that the Republicans come out strong, but if not, then God's in control. What's going to happen is going to happen. But conservatives, go out there and vote. Go out there and vote. The country needs you. We're depending on you to get out there and vote and let your voice be heard. You seem nice and smart. I appreciate you, William. Real chill. All damage. I just played. I didn't have a long streak tonight. I just played a little bit on JD Vance. He spoke with Dr. Oz on fraud, the war on fraud. And then I showed a clip on I almost called her Ilhan Musk. Oh my God. Ilhan Omar. And why did she feel the need to speak out during Donald Trump's speech yesterday? I don't know. He touched on Somalia, the fraud, what's happening in Minnesota, and she just acted a fool. She did. So, of course, I had to play clips of her being investigated for fraud and the things that she's responsible for. Of course, I had to play clips on that. And I found it interesting that she got so offended to the point where she wanted to say Donald Trump unalived people. Donald Trump didn't take anybody's life. And it's just the lies for me. It's just the lies. The trick is to keep us divided. Once enough people see who is actually pulling the strings, we can all flip. We just gotta, how you doing tonight, Damage? You know, come on, 80s. Let's get out there to vote midterms. That's right. Get out there and vote. One of the good things that people don't like to talk about that much because of what happened with Charlie Kirk is he did get young voters. He got people out there to go out voting very young, college age. There's like a high school division with Turning Point USA. He did that. And I guess I thought about Charlie Kirk because I'm watching, there was an update with the Tyler Robinson trial, okay? So I've been following that. Of course, I'm following Erica Kirk. May that family rest in peace. But Charlie Kirk did do a lot for the Republican Party. I truly appreciate, I agree with you here. I truly appreciate Ilhan showing her true colors for the world to see. For her to want all that attention on herself and for her to have the nerve, would she ever do that in her country where she's from? No. Wouldn't even be allowed. But then she comes here and takes advantage as she's supposed to be. Well, she is a representative. And for her to have that outburst and shout at Donald Trump didn't mention Ilhan. And people criticize, like I said earlier, people want to criticize Donald Trump for his response, but she was heckling him. She didn't stop. She's sitting there. She was so disrespectful, so disrespectful. And I'm just tired of the sense of entitlement. Eric, as long as the government is split like this, that would never happen. Tribalism. She wouldn't have done that in her country, Dr. Manhattan. And I was like, what is she thinking? Like, I just felt like the nerve of her.
Criminal aliens, and the Congresswoman is kind of like Vice President Kamala Harris.
I just felt like the nerve. I watched this stuff all day. I watched this stuff for an unhealthy amount of time in the day. Let's watch it again.
Criminal aliens. Now investigating how it.
Wait, what was that clip at?
The Somali. Now criminal aliens, in many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
It's disgusting. Disgusting. What is she so mad about?
You should be ashamed of yourself, not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
The nerve of her. The nerve. Call it out for what it is. That was disgusting. Look at her. Everyone else there is proud. Everyone else there is proud to be an American. Hi TC. Everybody else there is excited, and you have some people from the left that's sitting there rolling their eyes, acting as if they're asleep during the speech, just throwing temper tantrums. Temper tantrums for what? Doesn't make you look good. But the thing is, they're becoming more outspoken, more bold with their defiance against Donald Trump, against anything from the political right, just because some things are being called out. But I have a problem when people have a problem with fraud and other things being called out. Donald Trump spoke strong about protecting our borders yesterday. Donald Trump spoke about Trump accounts, helping kids, not getting rid of Medicare. There's so many things that was in that speech, and they're acting asleep as if they don't care. And then Ilhan gets upset and starts screaming at Donald Trump. She had no restraint yesterday. No restraint. He set them up to show. Glenn, what you talking about? So that's my point. And people can say whatever they want about Donald Trump. Ilhan has a platform. She could have waited to speak out, but she wanted to be distracting. She got so offended. I hope they do continue to investigate the fraud and what's happening in Minnesota, what's happening with Waltz and all the other officials that's there, that they want to just have the world ignore. Okay? But yeah, there's a lot. And don't get mad at me for speaking about it. I'm just saying what happened. I don't know. She called out. She didn't call anything. She didn't call anything out. She just threw a tantrum like she normally does. I every time I look at that and I see her face, I'm just like, okay, let me stop watching this clip.
Congresswoman Omar to show the purest form of contempt for America, simply because ICE is removing illegals.
Whatever. No, you just talking. Whatever. That's what I do.
Ilhan Omar to show the purest form of contempt for America, simply because ICE is removing illegals from the street.
The one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. States. And we should all be ashamed that it is the United States that is allowing for this to take place.
I wonder if they explained the U.S. part of USA to her when she got here. The United States of States, Tommy. That's what she said.
Well, listen, I actually have to thank Congresswoman Ilhan Omar because she has served as the perfect poster child for why we need a closed border and why we need to stop importing people from third world countries who have no respect for this country, no respect for our laws, and those who enforce them.
The Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
The Congresswoman is kind of like Vice President Kamala Harris.
I'm not making this stuff up. I'm showing you guys what happened. People can't be illegal. Jim Bellina, where are you from? Where are you from? So, let me read y'all comments before I get out of here. I'm curious to say, I'm curious. Wait, was that an Illuminati signal? Ilhan threw up Dr. Manhattan. There's no such thing as open borders, Giovanni. I'm not even gonna. I'm leaving my wife for her. I'm not even gonna entertain you with your comments. I'm not. You're proving my point. So we don't need to entertain you. Okay. We don't. And I won't. Okay, you guys. So it took me a while, and you're probably like, why did I spend so much time looking up these clips on Ilhan? But I was truly trying to understand. If you want to have a conversation, you can hit my link. Other than that, you're just another person I see in my chat. I don't know you to have a conversation with you. Jim, whatever the hell your name is. So I wanted to understand why she felt the need to speak out the other day. And I have looked into the fraud in Minnesota. Obviously, you guys remember when I covered Tim Waltz and I covered the governor and the mayor in Minnesota. Of course, Ilhan, I covered that before, but she kind of fell off my radar for a little bit until yesterday. During that powerful, you guys felt that. I know you guys did. I watched it with you guys as Donald Trump was addressing the union. I watched it with you guys. You guys watched it with me, Sebastian, right? So, and regardless if you were Republican or Democrat, you guys were both in the chat. And you guys had different things to say. Most of you were respectful, and then some of you were just, like Ilhan. But I just felt it was very bold of her to do that. It didn't look good, and it said a lot about her character. I don't know. It was just wrong. It was just wrong. And I'm not the only one that felt that way. I was in a chat that favored the left the other day, and they were saying the same thing, right? As a matter of fact, I was one of the only conservatives over there, and they spoke about how she made them look bad, and that's not what they stood for. I kind of disagree. I do feel that is what they stand for a lot, because lately there's been like this brazen disrespect for the political right. Now, I'm not trying to say anybody's victims. I'm not painting anybody out to be a victim, but I am saying that there's a lot of propaganda, there's a lot of false news, and there's a lot of people trying to use these fear-mongering tactics against the political right, when the political right are very generous people, very giving, there's so many things that people misunderstand about. I'm not the only person that's misunderstood, right? There's so many things that people misunderstand about conservatives. We have strong family values. We love our country. Democrats love the country too. But I have to wonder, if you love the country, why are they covering up the fraud in Minnesota? Why are they preaching about open borders, trying to fight against ICE agents, making it seem as if ICE is the problem, when the problem is people jumping into these investigations and trying to stop them from doing their jobs? Those are the problems. So I have questions. I feel that if you love our country, you will want protected borders. You would want us to put America first, strengthen our economy, make sure that Americans have health care, and make sure that we can take care of our families. If you work, you should be able to take care of your family, right? You have the right to bear arms. Why are you trying to take away our right to bear arms? Our right to protect ourselves against people that want to harm us. So I have questions. Are we so friends, you guys? But I love you guys. I'm praying for our country. We have midterms coming up. I'll tell you guys, go out there and vote. Go out there and vote. Go out there and use your voices and all of that stuff. Do you guys know on Saturday, MAGA's going to be at Disneyland? That's like an hour and a half away from me. I'm planning on being out there. They were trying to get it so Disneyland would ban us from wearing like any Trump gear or stuff like that. No, Disneyland is not banning Trump supporters. I'm not MAGA. I've never claimed to be MAGA, okay? But they're going to be out there. I need to film it. I love Disneyland. Yeah. Hi, Amok. How are you? I love Disneyland. Democrats are mean and vicious. They're terrifying. They want to create this hate with the political right. They want to come across, how you doing, angry? They want to come across as not as wealthy as they are. The Democrats in office oh, good night, Damage. Good night. They want to come across as, just like the people and all that stuff. All the Democrats that you guys see are extremely wealthy. Ilhan, I just showed you her wealth, right? She doesn't live the average American life, so they don't care about illegal immigrants coming into the country or anything else. They're not like the average person. They try to make you believe that, oh, they're fighting for you. No, they're fighting for themselves and what they have going on. Talking about the ones in office, okay? They paint this picture as Republicans trying to take from the rich to give to the poor, Republicans trying to take away from the middle class, and it's quite the contrary. That is not the case. There's no proof of that, and it's just simply not true. You're MAGA, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't identify as MAGA. I don't identify as MAGA, but if you guys call me MAGA, is that offensive to me? Absolutely not, because you hear a lot of my talking points, and it's not the first time I heard that. So I'm not going to say that. I just don't identify that way. And mostly the reason, if you guys want to know, the reason why is just because I was Republican. I just consider myself a conservative. I was a conservative before Donald Trump. got into office, and I will be a conservative after he leaves office. So I just prefer to identify like that. Okay. I'm very transparent with you guys. Like, forms a hard square. You identify as beautiful. I appreciate you, Scott. I appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you guys that are respectful in the chat. We pretty much let you rock out. My mods won't time you out, won't block you for disagreeing with me or disagreeing with the president or whomever I'm playing. You guys have the right to use your voice. Respectfully, okay? I'm not going to call you out of your name. Forms a hand square. MAGA, you just won an election. What are you going to do next? MAGA, we're going to Disneyland. They're going to Disneyland. I posted on my community wall. They're going to Disneyland. I love Disneyland. Did you guys also know I've timed you out in the past? Well, you probably said something that people didn't like. I didn't time you out. My moderators can't maybe time you out. I can't speak for my moderators. Talk to Dr. Manhattan, my head mod. He could have timed you out. I don't know. But Gibbolina, again, I don't know you. You're more than welcome to hit the link. Other than that, I'm not about to argue with you in the chat. Everyone I talk to, they say it's weird. What's weird about it? It's weird. How are you, Ben? So now the only problem with going to Disneyland out here, I live in California. It's a very liberal state. It's also, how do I say the word without triggering the algorithm? Can I say gay day without, well, I already said it, but it's a day that is celebrated for the LGBTQIA community. That's also happening at Disneyland the same time, the same day, on Saturday. Now, it is not true that conservatives do not support the community. We like the community. That's not true. But I'm wondering how they accept the MAGA group at Disneyland, the happiest place on earth. How are they going to accept us being there? Am I going to wear Trump clothing there? No, I'm not going to wear my Trump gear. I'm not going to do it. So I don't even have that much of it. I'm not going to do it, especially with my kids. I just want to go with my camera and film. That's really what I want to do. And I can't see what's being timed out, but I probably did. Don't ask my mods if you were timed out or why. If you were timed out, then you deserve to be timed out. Don't draw attention to yourself. Okay. Valerie, okay, that sounds personal. So William said, my brother lives by Disneyland. You can see it from his house. Oh, nice, William. I love Disneyland. I'm hoping to go to Disney World someday. You know, maybe I'll travel out there. Maybe I'll take my son. We'll go to Florida. Why would you want to go to a place like that? Like Disneyland? I love Disneyland. Why wouldn't I? And I have young kids. Like, you know, we go to Disneyland. We usually go. We'll stay at the, hey, Akula, hey, Shipmate, I see you. We'll stay at the Disneyland Resort for 5 days straight. Like, we'll either stay at California Adventures or we'll stay at Disneyland. Kind of depends on what's available. And sometimes we stay at both. There's that new one. I think it's here. I can't think. We haven't stayed at the new one yet. Do y'all know that hotel is like, now it's $800 a night to stay at the darn Disneyland hotel. But the reason I do it is because you can enter the park a half an hour early. It used to be an hour, now it's a half an hour early before it's open to the public. So we can get on all the rides and stuff like that. We usually don't even get up that early. But we stay there about 4 or 5 days and just hang out. Find the underground trafficking tunnels. I almost played that. You're talking about with Epstein? I almost played that, but I didn't play it tonight because I didn't want to mix Epstein with JD Vance. I'm trying not to do that because you guys complained about that when I did it last time. So if I talk about Epstein, I'll probably have to just do that in a stream on its own or on my horizontal stream where there's not as many people there. Have I been in Universal Studios? I love Universal Studios. I like all things that's make-believe or movies or stuff like that. Oh, cool. Let's go. I like all things like that. I'm a thrill junkie, so I like roller coasters. I like thrills, but I also like fantasy a lot. So Universal Studios, I think it's really cool. And I also think, you guys, that it's cool that MAGA is choosing to get together at a place that's fun. I feel like that's going to be great for our spirit, their spirit. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being there. You guys want me to film it? I love Disneyland, Knott's, Universal, Raging Waters. Are you buying any of that stuff, Dr. Manhattan? I like all that stuff too. I do. I mean the tunnels in Disneyland. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Eric. I'm so sorry. Okay. So you guys, I was polling my audience, and I know I hardly talk to you guys in my chats like this, but I was polling my audience. I didn't realize that most of you were actually, let's see, 60% of you roughly was Democrat. So I hope you don't get offended by my commentary. I don't mean to offend you guys. I just feel that Donald Trump is doing an amazing job for our country. He is doing exactly what the American people voted for him to do. And the fact that it's important to him to protect our borders, to have a strong stance against the war on drugs. It really can't be a war on drugs. War on drugs is war on people. But to keep drugs and fentanyl out of our country, because so many people are losing their lives over it, which is why we have the Venezuelan president, Maduro, facing trial for the crimes against the United States. That's why he's here. I just love the fact that he's doing that. I love Trump accounts. I love Trump RX. I'm not saying I'm crazy about the names. I'm not saying that. Trump, I'm not saying that. But I am happy that we do pay the highest cost of prescription drugs. We do, as Americans. Where you could go to another country, get that same drug for a fraction of the cost, right? Tired of using good RX for everything. It's just time, you guys. It's time. There's so many things. I have to talk about tariffs one day, how tariffs, it brings money into the country, gets people to buy American, but we'll talk about that another day. I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but there's so many things. There's so many things. No need to apologize. This is your channel, Eric. When are we getting to 2000? See, y'all like Donald Trump when it comes to the money, right? We like it when it's time for a stimulus. I don't know when we're going to get it. I didn't get it last time because I didn't qualify because of my income, but let's see. The tariffs will make it harder to. Carcino said, nope. Nope, what? What are you saying no about? The tariffs will make it harder to manufacture within the U.S. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. You won't get nothing from Trump. Donald Trump gave out stimulus checks before. What are you talking about? Nobody wants to talk about the Trump accounts that's going to change these kids' life. Give them, and my Native American, no, give them a substantial amount of wealth and give them opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Okay. And people still criticize that as if it's their money starting off these accounts. It's not. So you be grateful for the good things that's happening. Don't be so doubtful. Okay. I'm surprised you didn't get it. Why are you surprised I didn't get a stimulus check? I would have loved to have a stimulus check. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay. You seem pretty doubtful to me, Carcino. And that's the problem with a lot of people. Well, that's the problem with a lot of people. Even though there's good things that happen right in front of your faces, people want to criticize it. What time is it? 3 o'clock. I gotta go to bed. Trump will be out soon. Trump has 3 years, and that's one thing that all of us in this Casino, you're doubtful. Well, stay doubtful, but I hope that when it happens, you will speak about it. I do hope that you will speak about the good things that happen too. Okay. What was I saying before I addressed Casino? What was I saying, you guys? I forgot now. Trump will be out. So, that's what I was saying. Everybody in this chat, we have one thing in common. We have what Trump won't make it 3 years. He's gonna make it. He's already making it. What are you talking about? People keep saying that, okay, Donald Trump himself has said that if he doesn't win midterms, he'll get impeached. Just because, when has an impeached president been removed from office in history, ever? I don't believe it's going to happen. Donald Trump hasn't done anything worth getting impeached for. He's going to make his 3 years. And I feel that some of you want to incite violence on the president because when he almost lost his precious ear, so people are saying it's fake, and nobody's going to fake that. And nobody's going to fake that. Trump will be out soon. I just know he's only been president 1 year. Some people aren't good at math. Some people aren't good at math. So, no. Okay, hang on. Let me see. Let me see where my family's at. Oh, shoot. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to lay it down. Anything they don't like about Trump, they threaten impeachment, right? Let's get them out now. That's hurtful. That's hurtful. Donald Trump's not going anywhere. Are you guys talking about bring on the midterms? The Republicans are going to show out on midterms. But there's been a lot of lies about Donald Trump. But believe me, Donald Trump has a strong support. There's a lot of people that support Donald Trump. A lot of powerful people, a lot of wealthy people support Donald Trump. Okay? And just regular people like me support Donald Trump. What's good, the South Memphis show? What's good? Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Feel free to leave me a comment under my community post. Let me know what you want to talk about. Show your support. Hide my video. And I'm praying for our country, and I'm praying for all you. Raymond, what did you say? What is this? Oh, I don't know. I highlighted the wrong comment. Never mind, I can't find it. Oh, that's another one. Trump is a historical president of United States. Robert, you know I didn't mean to highlight that bullshit. Okay. That's a lot. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night. I'm praying for you guys. Good night, Sebastian. You are a Black Latina, and you are rocking with Trump. You came with smoke tonight. How can any of you that are Black support the Democratic Party? I rock with the party that fought for me, fought for my people to have civil rights. And that definitely didn't come from the left. Now, there's good people that's on the left. I'm not trying to demonize you. I'm not trying to guilt trip you. But for anybody to question me being Republican or conservative and want to use my race to do it, it's as if you're saying that because of my race and because of the color of my skin, I must vote Democrat. And that's the problem, is that the Democratic Party knows that they have a strong, they have a Black vote. They can promise things election after election, year after year, and not deliver. All they got to do is promise, and people keep signing up for the Kool-Aid, signing up for this false hope. I'm not about to do that. I'm a free thinker, and I'm going to see things and judge for myself, all right? I have no problem speaking up for conservatives and people that love the country, that have a strong sense of nationalism for our country, and I have no problem talking about it. And I have a problem with people that feel that open borders are the way and that we need to cater to other people besides putting American interests first. So if that bothers you and you want to talk about being a Black Latina, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's a free, well, Donald Trump represented the Republican Party, so obviously I voted for Donald Trump. He's a freak. It doesn't mean that I will vote for anyone just because they're Republican, but Donald Trump spoke about protecting the borders, men not playing in women's sports, which was huge. Harris was talking about prisoners getting gender reassignment surgery on the American dollar. We were supposed to pay for that. I'm supposed to vote for that. I'm supposed to vote for open borders. No, thank you. And she was a so-called Black woman saying those things. No, thank you. I'll pass. You guys can talk about my race. That one. Let's open the borders. Well, I am glad to see your stance on that. Let's open the borders. You don't like America. What's wrong with men and women's sports? I don't think that's the real casino. out there. What's wrong with men and women's sports? It's not fair to women. Men are men. Men compete against men, and women compete against women. That's what's wrong with it. That's what's wrong with it. I'm a feminine woman. I won't fight a man. I won't go against a man. And South Memphis, what you saying? Kids are, I don't know. And if a man wants to fight me, then I'm gonna call that man very feminine, right? I don't think it's fair to Olympians, women, to have to compete against men with all their testosterone because we're not made the same. And that's just common sense. But I guess if common sense was so common, everybody would have it, right? Good night, you guys. I gotta go to bed. I will see y'all later. Dr. Manhattan, thank you for holding me down.